Let's get back to that latest court ruling blocking the Trump tariffs. Scripps News Deputy Political Director Joe St. George joins us live from Capitol Hill. And Joe, how big of a deal is this latest decision?
Well, this is a cornerstone of President Trump's economic agenda, and it was dealt a major blow by a relatively low-profile court. We don't often talk about the New York-based trade court, but it was a bombshell ruling Wednesday night that has sent reverberations all around the globe. I mean, think about it for a moment. It's difficult to talk about Trump's economic vision for the country, for the globe, without using the T word tariffs. And a trade court has said that a vast majority, many of the tariffs that the president has implemented are no longer valid. As you said at the top there, Holly, the court said that the president's use of a 1977 International Emergency Powers Act law was not valid, and not a valid use of the law in imposing 10% tariffs on nearly every country on earth, certain tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada. Now, it's important for our viewers to know that the court did not invalidate all of President Trump's tariffs, but they invalidated many of them, suggesting that Congress plays a role in trade and tariff policy going forward, not the president on his own. Certain sectors, tariffs on steel, aluminum, vehicles, they're remaining because the president used other laws to justify the implementation of those specific tariffs. As you might suspect, this is the latest court ruling to frustrate the White House. Stephen Miller, a close advisor, one of the closest advisors to President Trump, called it a judicial coup on social media, the latest example of a judicial coup. Remember, this is a Trump administration that is frustrated that so many courts have issued injunctions blocking cornerstones of their agenda, and you can add this to the list. And for people who've been following the tariff story with us on Scripps News now for several weeks, how many twists and turns has this story had? You can add this list to the latest twists and turns. And as you said, Holly, the Supreme Court is expected one day to likely get this case because the appeals process is already underway by the Trump administration. It's got to go to the appellate court first, and then I expect the Supreme Court likely at least to be asked to weigh in here. But a major ruling impacting the economy on this Thursday morning, Holly.
Yeah, and we saw the markets responding in a positive direction.
Yeah.
So how are other countries responding to this now?
Yeah, real quickly on the global markets front, we saw markets in Asia go up, markets in Europe go up. We're expecting U.S. markets to react as well. Remember, the markets haven't particularly liked all these tariffs, trade disruption, really for the last several months. So any type of change, whether it's the president not imposing a tariff on the EU or in this case a court ruling, it's going to send the markets soaring. But as far as other countries go, remember this court order, this court ruling is dropping in the middle of negotiations in which trade representatives from the United States have been talking on the phone with various world leaders, economic leaders from the EU, for instance. Well, now, if you're a world leader sitting in a global capital somewhere and you were planning on negotiating with the U.S., maybe changing your policies or your tax structure to try to lower the tariff rate, now this ruling comes out and you're like, well, okay, I mean, maybe we're not going to negotiate that much with President Trump going forward since the President Trump has lost his authority under this 1977 law, at least temporarily because of this trade court. So the president lost a lot of leverage when it came to these trade deal negotiations with this trade court ruling last night, Holly.
And Joe, you'd mentioned that some other of the tariffs on automobiles, aluminum, steel, they didn't fall under this general tariff. So have we heard about perhaps the Trump administration trying to maneuver a little bit so that these tariffs come out from under that ruling?
Well, certainly the Trump administration could try to explore the use of other laws to implement these, but remember who filed these lawsuits. The group that challenged this tariff, this use of this 1977 law in court, businesses, Democratic governors, and they alleged economic harm. So now we're reaching the point where tariffs are going to be scrutinized, just like so many executive orders by President Trump has been scrutinized. And oftentimes, Democratic governors can find a district judge somewhere, or in this case, a trade court somewhere that is friendly and perhaps willing to block a cornerstone of President Trump's agenda. Again, add this to the list of big-time policy moves the Trump administration is attempting to make that then gets blocked by a judge, or in this case, a panel of judges at the U.S. Trade Court in New York. Again, a low-profile court, Holly. We don't talk about the Trade Court in New York that much, but it's the biggest economic story on this Thursday morning. The whole globe's talking about it.
Now everybody knows who they are, and stay tuned because tomorrow will be another story. Scripps News Deputy Political Director Joe St. George for us. Joe, as always, thanks.